This is my first complete sketchbook tour video that I did, all by myself. Hi, I'm Detroit. How are you? Well, hello there, I'm Detroit. I'm very excited for this video. As you can see, this is my sketchbook. It's been with me for the better part of 2 years now, and it's finally complete. I'm so excited to go through all the drawings with you and show you some of my best drawings over the last 2 years. Before we get started, please consider subscribing because, as you can see right here, I have a new sketchbook. So there will be a lot more drawings in the future. So please subscribe and stay tuned. Let's get started with the sketchbook. So this is the first drawing. Well, it's not actually the first. The first was this one. This first drawing I actually removed because I gave it to my grandma for her birthday. I didn't have any other drawings on hand, so I took one from this book. This is cool because you can actually detach the pages. This one actually is the first drawing that appears on this YouTube channel. If you go through my drawing videos far back enough, you can see this one and many others from this book. This second one I don't really like that much. It's like a monolith, and I tried to make some sort of noisy landscape, but the noise is just too much. You can't really see any of it. But it was good fun. It's always nice to try some new patterns and see what sticks, you know? The first few drawings of this sketchbook I probably did with one of these fountain pens. I don't really know which one is which, because I'm not using them anymore really. These ones were really old and some of it are a bit crusted and I don't really have the time to wash them, especially because now I have much better ones. Actually, most of the drawings you'll see in this sketchbook were made by one of these. This is my cross fountain pen, the one I like the most. Then we have the Rotring Isograph 0.35, which I really like too. There's a Kawiko Sport, which is really handy, like in your pocket for travels. And finally, a Pilot Fineliner. This one I started using only recently, but I quite like it actually. It feels really good to draw with. So as you can see, some of these old drawings, I even have the date at which I drew them. Again, I've had this sketchbook for 2 years. I only wanted good drawings, you know? Like, I didn't want to leave any sketches or like pencil marks and stuff. Like, I was really precious with it, and it's one of the reasons it took me so long, but also it's something I want to change in the future. I want to be able to be more free with the sketchbook and do whatever I want without it like compromising the sort of overall feel of the book, you know? This is the sort of pattern that I like a lot. I've been drawing tiny, crazy, intricate designs for a lot of years, like way before this YouTube channel ever started, because it feels really good to fill a whole area with a tiny, intricate pattern. It's something I really enjoy. Sometimes I'm a bit sad because, as you can see right here in the middle, there's a part that is a bit darker. That's because like I had to refill the fountain pen, and the new ink was a bit more fluid than the old one, so it changed the appearance of the drawing a bit, but it's okay. This one I really like as well. It's a very simple drawing pattern. I mean, there's just like bubbles with a bit of shadow, you could say, at the bottom of them, and then just wiggly lines. To add a bit more, I added some shapes here and there, and it's either a river or branches. I don't know, I like it. Again, it's very simple, but what's cool about this sort of drawing is that it fills the whole page. Now, this is a bit more experimental. Like, this is just a bunch of circles and lines. I really like the feel of it. Like, I feel as if this drawing isn't that complete, but it looks good nonetheless. Like, it's a pattern that I would reuse, but maybe in a bigger way. Or maybe just use as a filler pattern for part of an abstract landscape or something. Like, this is a cloud, obviously. Or maybe a fruit. I guess it kinda reminds me of the devil fruits in One Piece, you know? I don't know, I think it looks cool. Now, this one may look a bit weird at first. It's actually like an abstract city. It makes more sense with the coloring, which I did on Photoshop. Like, in the video I mixed two medium, ink drawings, and then Photoshop coloring on top of it. Now we get to this drawing. This is actually the first drawing I did with this cross fountain pen that I love dearly. I got the fountain pen from my parents, and I just had to try it with the cross blacking that came with it. And I mean, it's really satisfying. I really fell in love with this pen the first time I used it. And right after doing this, which took me, I think, about 30 minutes at the time, I moved on to this one, which is really cool too. If you watched a bit of my videos, this is a pattern that you may have recognized. I drew on a mug with that pattern. I drew on many things with it actually, but I didn't show most of it on camera. This is actually one continuous wiggly line that goes like from the start over here, I think, somewhere, and goes all the way inside and then back to it. I really like this because that's about the time I figured that I could do something with the shape of the whole drawing rather than just fill a page. Like, the shape tells a different story than the pattern itself, whereas with this sort of drawing, it just fills the whole page, which is really nice. It's very satisfying, but here there is an added element by having like the drawing kind of not finished, you know? Now, this is just the sort of drawing that I wouldn't show on video. Actually, this one, at another part of my drawing journey, I would have probably teared off the page, because it doesn't belong in the sketchbook. Like, I mean, it's not that good, but you know, I left it just to show you that the whole sketchbook isn't one perfect thing. You know, the impurities, the imperfections are also what makes the other drawings better. Let's move on quickly though. This is a drawing I took into Photoshop and colored later. Just like this one, which was to represent dissociative identity disorder. As you can see, like it's a bunch of faces with the mouth being the eye holes of other faces. It's just a massive blob. I like it. This one, even though it's tinier, it's quite cool as well. Like, this is a cool pattern with the spikes and stuff, and this was to represent schizophrenia. Now we move on to this drawing, which is something that's never appeared anywhere, I believe. I don't even know if I posted it to YouTube. I was trying to experiment different things with shading and like hatching, kind of, in a way, even though this is half hatching and half stippling. As you can see, like there are a lot of dots, but I don't really like the overall shape of it. I was just trying to experiment with organic shapes, and you know, it happens. Now this is when I started using a Kawiko Sport that I just bought. If you can see it, you will know that all the lines and dots are much tinier because it is very thin, the ink isn't as fluid, and so it allows me to do something like cross-hatching and get way more intricate. It doesn't feel as good, it feels more scratchy to draw with, which is why the Kawiko isn't my favorite fountain pen, but I still love to use it sometimes. Here we have another mess of lines. This has everything. It has a lot of lines condensed together, a lot of organic shapes as well. So, some of the stuff I don't even know what they are, to be honest. This, I believe, was made with the rotring isograph, but I'm not certain. It could have been the Kawiko as well. I got the two at the same time. This is probably more of an experiment to see like at which density I could draw and still read the lines. All of these lines are very close together, but you can still see the white space. This is the sort of experiment I would do sometimes. This is a mindless doodle, an automatic drawing. For this, I didn't think about what I wanted to do at all, which is something I have done for a lot of the drawings on there. I'm just mentioning it because I made a video about automatic drawing, and this video actually got more traction than any other video at the time. So this one was really important to me in retrospect. I didn't think the video would be any better than the other ones, but apparently YouTube liked it a lot. So I have to thank you guys. This is just a stone doors that I did with some stippling. This is actually my return into stippling, which is something I have done in the past, a few years ago, but I don't know, stippling just takes too much time and it's really hard to like draw the contrast and stuff. Like, as you can see, everything looks kind of blended together. Like, the dark parts needs to be so much darker and the light parts, well, they are okay, but like the amount of contrast you need and the control you need for that is just, it takes too much time. I like stippling, but yeah. Now this one I really like. It's like kind of mesmerizing. It's like a Sherian staircase kind of thing. It has a lot of shapes, it goes in all directions, but because of the lines at every corner, it gives a sense of depth. It's just the depth that doesn't make sense. I think it's actually really cool, and I'm pretty sure if you take like a white line like this, you can actually follow it all the way through. Like, everything should be connected here, which is something I really like. Yeah, this is the sort of drawing that doesn't take too long to make. This would probably be around 30 to 40 minutes, maybe an hour at most. It looks really good and it's original. I don't draw a lot of things like that, but at the same time I can't draw every time like this because it wouldn't be as original then. And now this is something I did with the Carico Sport as well. This is a lot of lines together. Again, to add a semblance of like maybe cloud or wind, I would even say. It's a ball of texture and with 3D and stuff, it looks really good. I really like it. It's really dark overall. It's fantastic in a way. You can write a story about it. I just love it. Talking about writing stories, this one is very much what I like to do to get my brain started, like my creative juice flowing. You can write a whole sort of story, like this is you falling into hell or into another dimension. These holes could be eyes that represent something. I really like it. This is a bunch of abstract lines, then like bigger bubbly shapes, and also stippling, because of course the middle is way darker than the outside, and this is because of all the dots I've added. I didn't know this was there. I probably would have taken this out. This is actually a chicken that is in the shape of a cube, and you can see the tiny chicken butt here. And now we're back to filling the whole page. This is a pattern I would approximate as wings. I see all of these assortments of shapes as like tiny wings that are together. What I really like with this is the coloring of the black background. If you didn't color it black, then it would just have been like some sort of cylinders or blobs or sausages, kinda even. But with the dark background added, it makes it full. It looks like something you would have on the background of your phone, which I actually have sometimes. Like a lot of these drawings ended up at one point or another as the background to my phone. As you can see, tiny lines, which means Carico Sport, and this is a brain. I realize now that I have no idea how to draw a brain. This doesn't look that good. I'm kinda bad at cross-hatching, and every time I try it I get better, but it's a very long process. Anyway, this is a brain, let's move on. Now, this is the future evolution of humans. You know the evolution of humans chart, starting with a primate and then slowly morphing into a human right here? Well, I just imagine the next evolution. As you can see, it gets more and more abstract, and this is like an alien shape with a bunch of lines and holes, and it doesn't actually make sense, but I think it looks cool. I've also added a little border to this because I didn't know how to finish it. It pisses me off a little bit that the border isn't actually the same size on either side, but I mean, the drawing isn't centered. It's fine. This is a drawing I did. I was really uninspired by any pattern, so I simply reused the pattern I used in the first drawing, if you remember the one I showed that I actually tore off the sketchbook. This is a tree, and it has like fruits hanging or water drops maybe. This drawing, I think I did it it was 2 AM, and I couldn't sleep, so I just took a ruler, traced some stars and pencils, and made them 2 perspective points to add to the same drawing. So these are like futuristic buildings that follow 2 different perspective points, which give them this really nice aesthetic look, again a bit Escherian. I like it. So now we have this one. This one sadly I didn't turn into a video, so I drew this while sat on a rock outside near my parents' home with a Carico Sport. I don't know why I drew that. I thought it would be kinda cool to draw a finger as a candle, and I did it. It took me a while. I think the result is really cool. Again, I'm kinda sad I didn't have any means to film it at the time. Like I didn't have any tripod, my phone was low on battery. But yeah, I just really enjoyed the process. It's kind of a dark drawing. It's the sort of things I've been doing for years, but don't really show any of it most of the time. Following this one, we also have this, which is a human face with a hole. Self-explanatory, I guess. Again, this is kinda dark. It doesn't mean anything. There is no deep meaning behind it, like it's not me trying to express a trauma or something. It's just a cool drawing, I think. It's the fact that the lines from the Carico Sport are so small and tiny that you can bunch them together as much as you'd like to make a clear gradient between like very light and very dark. This drawing is way more chill suddenly. This is just a landscape scene that you would see from the window of a train. Like you can imagine it bumping up and down like doo-doo, doo-doo, doo-doo as you go over the rails. It's just a nice drawing in comparison to the human with a hole in his face. Now this is typically me trying to emulate Peter Draw's style. This is a bunch of organic shapes together and trying to make a free-flowing pattern without thinking about any line too much. That still looks good from afar. It's like a castle on top of a mountain. Again, like all of these drawings, it has a very good storytelling potential. You can make a full story out of this. I like it. This is sort of a failed attempt at drawing something I saw on Instagram. I did get much better with this sort of pattern later on, but you know, sometimes it's experimental. Oop, empty pages. This is a really cool video that I did on YouTube. I wanted to draw two abstract things at the same time, using both my hands. As you can see, I'm right-handed. So, like, this drawing is much more intricate and much nicer. And this one is, well, you know, it's just a bunch of lines. Actually, like, most of it is one line. I think it's a cool idea. In execution, it's maybe not that great, but drawing two things at the same time, I think it's original. Shut up, I like it. Moving on. This is a faced scratch against the wall. As you can see, same type of lines. Same thing as the guy with a hole in his face and like the finger candle. Yeah, what else can I say? It's dark. Now, this is less dark suddenly. This is a mingle of two different patterns, like the whole lines thing to add a bit of depth, and the filling, which is like the organic shape that I often do with the rotring. What's nice again with this drawing is that it doesn't exactly fill the whole rectangle of the page. Like the shape itself is interesting. This is a drawing that I may want to continue in the future or maybe not. I don't know, I'm not sure, which is why I haven't teared it off yet. Because I might finish it, but I might not. I will let the future decide. Oh, you know what? You can actually leave a comment and tell me what you think. Should I continue it or should I throw it away? Let me know. These lines I did last Christmas. I woke up for Christmas with my family and that's a point where I had a bit of free time before going skiing and I just took this sketchbook and started drawing in it. I was actually playing cards with my sister at the same time. This is a bone jellyfish. Like, it's made of bones with tendons inside, like muscle fibers almost. It's a pattern I've used a lot, even recently. I think it looks cool. I haven't finished my experiments with it yet. There's so much more potential with this pattern. You'll see it a lot in the future, I guess. And now we get to the map of a whole city. This city is partly inspired by the map of Paris. Like, if you take a look at Paris from above, you can see, like, the Seine and, like, the few islands in there. It's a really nice drawing. It's really exhausting as well, because all of these tiny squares you have to put together and make sure there is some spacing between them. All the roads as well, you have to connect and kind of make sense out of. It's a really nice drawing overall, but it's really expensive for the resource that is time. It's really tiring as well, and I want to draw some maps in the future, but maybe not cities. And also, this is a really good storytelling potential. Back to filling a whole page with one sort of pattern. This one I really like. I think it's very organic, like even the circles are more like ellipses, they are free-flowing. The really dark ink makes it flow much better. I love this sort of pattern. It takes a lot of time, but you can also go at it without thinking too much and you can draw for 2 hours at a time and it feels kind of nice. You don't have to think about it, whereas for the city, the last drawing, you have to think about every line you do. This one, not so much, which sometimes is great. I don't see drawing as working, you know, especially since I don't make money from most of my drawings. So it's nice to be able to relax with it, without thinking too much, asking too many questions to yourself. This is fully experimental. I don't really like it. Let's move on. So this one is a seed that grows and you can see like the roots of the seeds, or maybe actually the branches, because the pattern behind might as well be leaves. If you look a bit closer, you can see that the pattern behind consists of Wi-Fi symbols. This is a lot of gears or mandalas, or both. It also looks like an alien city from above, maybe, and like all the concentric rings with maybe streets going from one another. I think it's really cool. I wish I had drawn this digitally, and then I would maybe try to animate it and like have all the circles turning. That would have been really nice. Also, the circles aren't perfectly circles, but it's fine. Now, this is a mess of patterns. I really love this kind of drawing. There are maybe tens of different patterns in there, like a lot of hatching, but also circles and like depth lines and spheres and wings and leaves, all sorts of stuff. And what's even more fun with this drawing is that it actually has a lot of faces inside. You can see here's an eye, here's another eye, the nose and the mouth and the chin. But also here's an eye, the nose, the mouth, the chin. Again, here you can see a profile. There's another profile here, another eye here, here another eye. This whole drawing is a mingle of different faces mixed together, but at first glance you don't see the faces, which is, I think, really interesting. I love to hide a lot of symbols and a lot of things in my abstract drawings, and this is a really good example of it. Another example of hiding symbols is actually this next drawing. This is Dream Dust. It's one of my favorite patterns. It's actually a discrete pattern, like it isn't continuous. There's a lot of white space, but it has all these tiny shapes, like you can see the sheep and the tiny alien ship and a sun and stars and a lot of different things. And if you want to take the time, I recommend you find the video I did on this pattern and pause the video and try to find all the different symbols. I hid a lot of them in there. Moving on, we have this, which is also an experiment, which I failed. You can maybe not really see it, but in some places I added white to hide the bad lines I put in there. This is a really cool pattern I will revisit, because it kind of looks like a map of Archipelago. Yeah, but this drawing I stopped right there because there were too many mistakes, but it's still a good drawing, so I kept it in the sketchbook. Now, this is a pattern you see a lot on Instagram. It's just a bunch of worms. It's really relaxing to do. Again, this is something you don't have to think much of. Like, you just make the overall shapes, and then you just have to decide which orientation you want to go. For example, this one curves this way and not this way. Well, just do that all over, and it's a nice time to spend. Another failed experiment. I told you there were a lot in there. This is actually my attempt to draw a mandala pattern on every sort of shape. I wanted to see if it was possible. It is. And if it looked good. It doesn't. So yeah, this is a bottle with a mug and like maybe some coffee related things. I don't know, this is maybe a bag of coffee. I just took what was at the edge of my desk at the time. So yeah, you can draw a mandala pattern, a very intricate one, into any sort of shape, but it doesn't necessarily look good. That's my take on this. Now this is a nightmare creature. This is a type of drawing I haven't done in a while. It looks really good. It looks even a bit realistic, I would dare to say. All these lines are wiggly and really noisy, which make it even better as a nightmare creature. This sort of demonic cat is made with a rock texture, and it's like all crumbly and all dusty, and I like it. And we're back to filling the whole page with a pattern. As you can see, this one, it starts over here in the corner with like really straight lines that slowly, well, not that slowly, but that morph into a lot of twirls and noose and nonsense, and it slowly gets lighter over there. So this is a mess that is slowly going over there, but hasn't fully taken over the page yet. I think if I close this book and let it sit for a few weeks, maybe it will complete the whole page. I don't know. This drawing is alive, let me tell you this. This one, I don't have much to say about it. I guess you can learn a lot more if you look at the video I made on this one. I think the video is about time. In my mind, these are eggs and this one just hatched. What it gave birth to, I don't know, but yeah, there you go. And this is an optical illusion. I really like it. It takes a lot of time to draw something like this, but it's kind of relaxing too. You don't have much thinking to do. What I did is first sketch out all the shapes in pencil and then just fill them with lines. What's really nice with this pattern is you can actually draw it in sort of a printer style. Like I started from this corner and just did all the lines in succession, most of them. So if you take a video out of that and speed it up, you can actually like see all the lines being drawn, and it looks very satisfying. This drawing I did under the heat of the sun, sat on a rock outside my parents' home. It's one of these drawings, you know. It doesn't make sense, it's shapes going in and out. It looks maybe like a coral reef. At this point, I've done so many drawings with this sort of pattern that I don't even know what to say anymore. It's part of the drawings that look alive, in a sense. It's just tentacular, and like if you look at it a lot and close your eyes, maybe you can imagine it like flowing all over the place. It's alien and it looks cool. This is my attempt at a perspective abstract drawing. Obviously, all of it is abstract, but there is a center of perspective, and I think it looks really cool. Honestly, I'm just gonna do that again, with maybe a 2-point perspective, or maybe a 3-point perspective at some point. I like it. The shape is cool as well. I'll experiment with it a bit more in the future. This now drawing, I can tell that I was really uninspired. I didn't know what to draw. Probably I was a bit tired and a bit out of time to make a video that week. So I just put squares to add something of interest in the page and filled them with one sort of pattern. I don't remember what I said in the video, like I don't remember what I talk about after I've made the video. But yeah, a bit uninteresting, but it looks different from all the other drawings, so it fits here. Ah, this drawing, now I remember this one because I was really struggling to see what I was doing because it was quite late and I was a bit tired. And this was the day before I got my glasses. Now I can look at it really clear from kind of far away, but at the time I was really having to squint to see what I was doing and see where the point of the rotating isograph would sit in the shape. Like it's kind of hard to see, and without glasses it's even worse. So yeah, I really remember this drawing because it was a turning point from my site. Without glasses I wouldn't have been able to draw that. This is a lot of noisy lines and it actually like flows towards the center over here. What I like is that you don't really see that. If you look at far away, it's just an overall mess, but you still start to see like some tendencies of the lines, like that flow around the central point, which is a tiny bit darker. Like this is just a mess of lines, but it actually has some semblance of organization within, which is what I meant to do. Now we have bubbles filling an entire page. I really like this sort of pattern. I did the same thing with wings before. It's a lot of shapes, but since these shapes are quite big by themselves, I had to fill the back in black. Again, another phone background, this one. Now we're on to really recent drawings. This one you can see the same pattern of muscle fibers and tendons and bones as I did with the jellyfish one. This is a planet, an ink planet with a hole inside, because why not? It's nice. It's one of the really few drawings that actually represent something. I mean, you know, because you've seen the entire sketchbook, but yeah, most of the drawings are just abstract stuff, but sometimes you get one or two things that are a bit more, well, not realistic, but a bit more based on reality. And finally, we have the end. This is the last drawing in this sketchbook. It is also the end of this video. No, actually it's not, because I wanted to say, like, here I have all the information of this sketchbook, which I kept just for the sake of this video. If you want to get a sketchbook like this one, you can screen cap this and get the information. Like, the brand is Canson, obviously, and I really recommend this sketchbook. It feels really nice to draw on. I draw on it with a lot of different pens and fountain pens and inks, and overall this sketchbook is great. All the different pages, they don't really bleed much through, like at least it doesn't impact the rest of the drawings. It's not that big either, with only 80 pages in it. So yeah, if you want to get one, this is the one I recommend. And that's the end of this black book. This is so far my favorite sketchbook, because it's one of the few I've ever completed, and I'm really glad I got to share most of it with you guys. If you want to see all the drawings that are in there again, you can check my Instagram, because most of them are on Instagram. Maybe except one or two, really, the failed experiments. A lot of them are on the videos on this channel, so I encourage you to subscribe and maybe go watch other videos I made. Finally, another good reason to subscribe is obviously this one, because I have a new sketchbook now. This is a moleskin sketchbook. As you can see, it's dark blue instead of black. It doesn't have the rings either because I want it to change a little bit. I can already tell you that I will do some sketches, I will do some abstract inks obviously, maybe I will do some coloring, pencils. I want to try everything I can. It has a lot more pages than the other one, so I can really use it at any time of the day, during any situation, and not on video. Sometimes on video and sometimes not, so stay tuned for that. What did I forget? Like and comment, and I will see you next week for new drawings. I'm Détroit. I wish you a good day and start drawing if you haven't already. Bye!